with our that would be our cross-site scripting attack, that is XSS. This is the top 10 critical vulnerability of your vast top 10, and that would be your A7 cross-site scripting. Yep. So let me tell you about the one thing. Cross-site scripting is your Java script attack, a normal Java attack. So if we talk about the cross-site scripting, which is your vast top 10, and that would be your A7 XSS. And it was a standard, and the year of standard is 2017. So our major agenda over here is to simply tell all the possibilities one by one, which can lead us for information gathering part. So what exactly the cross-site scripting is, let's have a look. Cross-site scripting, which is also known as XSS, which is a short form, and this web security vulnerability allows an attacker to compromise the interaction that user has to a vulnerable application. Interaction with a human vulnerable application. Interaction means the layout we can see on the front end. The front end, we can see the message type over here, we can see all the possibilities, so it could be a different part. So over here you can see it allows an attacker to circumvent the same origin policy. So same origin policy is basically attacking on the same environment that cannot be intercepted with a different domain. For example, if I'm attacking the website called xyz.com, this is origin. Origin means a zone, a specific zone for a specific application, and this specific application will not interact with another different zone, which is also origin, but this will be another zone, a different zone over there. So my major perspective was over here to simply turn all the things one by one. So if this XYZ has been attacked, it will not get any effect on the ABC website. It will not give any effect. So it will simply happen on the vulnerable application on the specific one. Same origin policy which is designed to segregate different websites from each other. Segregate means apart or separate. Cross-site scripting vulnerability normally allows an attacker to masquerade a victim user and to carry out any actions that are usually able to perform and access any of the user data. If the victim user has privileged access to the application, then the attacker might be able to gain full control over the application and the functionality. So this line, I will say this line is important. If the victim user has privileged access with the application, then the attacker might be able to gain full control over the application, functionality, and data. And that could be a different thing over here. For example, let's have a look how a simple JavaScript payload works. So over here, cross-site scripting will manipulate the web interface. Only the client side can get affected over here. So you can see cross-site scripting works by manipulating a vulnerable website. So it's written malicious JavaScript to user. When the malicious code execute inside a victim browser, the attacker will be fully compromised their interaction with the application part. So you can see a proper message has been given. For example, they have given a proper URL that can be used for the further stages. For example, domain.com, or you can see the comment. The message is the parameter and the value which is given over here. So you can see a value which is given over here on the script tag. Most of the Java applications are based on JavaScript. Cross-site scripting vulnerability is basically based on your JavaScript templates. So over here, the major objective of this session would be to simply penetrate all the skills one by one and simply gonna look for all the possibilities. So JavaScript templates is just like your simple Java programming. So script and script tag, and the message will be over here. You can say the structure of the query. Remember one thing, if you're visiting any of the website, for example, if I'm visiting this website, which is a normal Google, so you can see, I can see the Google is highlighting the search parameters, the tags over here. So a website, when a website is developed, you can see they are using HTML, they are using CSS, and they are using JavaScript. HTML will be our body type. This would be our skeleton. This would be our, what you can say, interaction. JavaScript will give us a proper layout, which could be your buttons, features, etc. So whenever a website is created, you will have to examine that this should be made by HTML, there should be a CSS, there should be JavaScript, many further things can be happen over there one by one. So our major objective of this today's session, we can understand how the cross-site scripting vulnerabilities works in the 2017 A10, A7, and that will lead us for information as well. Most of the JavaScript payload will show you like this one. And over here, you can see this attacker has used a script tag with the source src. Src means the source IP, the source URL where the data will be fetched. So simple, how it could be possible. An attacker will craft a URL and it will send it to the victim side. The victim will execute this one, and by default it will execute the malicious code that could be due for malfunctioning, and it will return to the attacker part. So in this scenario, what we're gonna do over here, we're gonna see what are the types of cross-site scripting. The cross-site scripting are divided into three types, which is your reflected, stored, and DOM-based XSS. So if I talk about the reflected are the most common things. You can find reflected cross-site scripting in anywhere of the website. For example, you can see reflected where the malicious scripts comes from the current HTTP request. Simple. A current HTTP request means, so if I create a simple pop-up machine, let's make a simple payload. What will happen? Let's do script alert document dot domain. Let's try this one. Let's take this website. This is a testing website, so I'm just taking this one. So major perspective, let's try with the search parameter. What will happen over here? I can see there's a pop-up of test php.vulnerabilities.com. Why? Because over here I can simply create a script which will pop up a document.domain part. Document.domain, which is a simple your pop-up of JavaScript. See over here, if I run the developer mode on the console, I can do document. You can see on the bottom, if you can see over here, the bottom side, I simply write document. So in the developer mode, you can simply press F12 and go to the developer mode, and you can do document.domain. So debugger code eval execution 1.0, something is missing. Sorry, it was dot, not a single part. Yes. Something is missing over here, and that would be something. Sorry, I was using semicolon. I was declaring a variable, so I don't have to do that. So you can see the test query, the parameter can also work over here also. This one didn't work. I was trying to use the test parameter, but didn't reflect anything. The major objective of this one is to simply identify the request parameters. So the simple reflected, the malicious script comes from the current request. It will simply pop up on the instant variables when you simply execute this one. So what could be the possibilities an attack can be performed? So see over here, we're going to try all the things one by one. We're going to try reflected XSS, stored XSS, and DOM-based XSS. And the first thing I can see, the stored XSS. See, there is a word called persistent and non-persistent. Persistent means the data will be stored on the server side, and that could be whenever a normal document user will visit that specific source, the first thing will be appeared, that will be the source code where the payload has been executed or the stored. And if I talk about the stored over here, stored is persistent and reflected is non-persistent because it will simply single click execution. See over here, stored XSS, where the malicious scripts come from the website database. See, why they are saying that the malicious scripts come from the stored website database? Why? Because the script has been stored on the server side database, and it will be single pop execution. DOM-based XSS, where the vulnerability exists in the client code rather than the server side. See, the client code execution part, client side code. So it will be on the client side, not the server side. So lots of people, they ask me, sir, what will happen if we simply get to know about the vulnerabilities exist on the client or either than the server side? Server side will be stored, okay, because the payload has been stored from the client to the server, and it is a part of the database. So whenever the attacker will visit, or whenever the document user will visit that specific page, the first thing it will see is the pop-up of the execution part. So what we have over here, let's talk about the three important topics that could be covered. So the first thing is reflected cross-site scripting. This one. So we have reflected XSS is the simplest variety of cross-site scripting. It arises when the application receives the data in the HTTP request and includes the data within the immediate response in the unsafe way. So I have mentioned you that it's a single pop-up. If you simply execute any queries, it will simply do over there. For example, you can see here is a simple example of process scripting vulnerability. So they have given insecurewebsite.com status message all is well, the simple parameter value. So the P parameter, the P tag. The P tag is just your message over here, message. So what will happen? Status is all is well. So what will happen if an attacker simply put a malicious code just like this one? The application doesn't perform any processing of the data, so an attacker can easily construct the attack. And you can see the script bad plus stuff here. Bad stuff means your payload over here, because this is a script which is your starting and this is your ending point. So the payload will be like this one. So see what will happen if the user visit the URL constructed by the attacker, then the attacker script execute in the browser. So in the context, the user session will be application, and the endpoint, the script can carry out actions. So what could be the possibilities? So what I'm going to do, let's look for the cross-site scripting of reflected one. So I have solved some of the queries over here. You can see the first one, which is reflected, and we're going to try many more over here. So the first one is your reflected access in the HTML context with nothing encoded. Nothing encoded means there would be a simple plain text execution part. And the most important thing, when you simply search for the parameter values, look for the impact also. The impact will cause you a lot of things. Reflected XSS into HTML context page. So let's have a look. See, this lab contains a simple reflected cross-site scripting vulnerability in the search functionality. See, the search functionality. To solve this lab, alert a function, document attack, and call the alert function. So, otherwise, you can see we're going to copy this one. A simple payload has been given. You can do anything over there. So, let's do an lab access. So, over here, we have a normal thing, a normal blog, which is given over here. But over here, I can see the search block parameter. So, let's do one thing. Let's pop up my name over here. Zero result. Why this happened? See, this was a string. I was using a string parameter. This was a string, and I mentioned you, if you are using a string, simply use double quote or a single quote over there. See, and you can see over here the machine has been solved. It was a simple payload that it will execute on a single click on the server side. It didn't take that much of time to simply execute one by one all the queries. But the major objective over here is to simply understand how the attack will, because cross-site scripting reflected vulnerability will be simply a single pop-up. See, an HTTP request includes that data within the immediate response in the unsafe way. Immediate response from unsafe way. See, this was I was talking about. A single pop-up can be help over here to simply enumerate or simply get all the things one by one. So over here, what we're gonna do, we're gonna try to check one by one many other further things also. So over here, let's have a look at impact. So lots of people ask me about the impact. What could be the impact if a cross-site scripting vulnerability has been executed on the server side? That could be lead us for information part. So if an attacker can control a script that is executed in the victim browser, then they can typically fully compromise that user. So why they are saying that we can fully compromise the user? Because over here, when I use the document.cookie parameter, I can use the session cookie pop-up also. This will be the malicious one. If you find any cross-site scripting, a pop-up, an attacker to try to use a document.cookie also. But there was no user was login. That's why it's a blank over here. Sometimes if the user is logging over there on the specific server, you can simply pop up their session tokens. If you get any session tokens over there, that could be a malicious thing. See over here. Test php.oneweb. So let's sign up. So this is a testing website, a normal testing website. So see what will happen if I use a single pop-up. xvideos.com. I should restart from xvideos. Okay. Might be some error over here. No issue. That we can simply look for money for the things. So what could be the possibilities? What could be the impact? So if I talk about the impact, performed any action within the application that the user can perform, view any information that the user is able to view, modify any information that the user is able to modify, initiate interaction with the application users, including malicious attacks that will appear in the originate from the initial victim user. There are various means by an attacker might induce a victim user to make a request that can control to deliver reflected cross-site scripting. And many other things can be happen. See, we have many more attacks over here. Let's try one by one. Exploiting cross-site scripting vulnerabilities. So we have some more reflected over here. I'm going to show you some of the attacks over here. So let's try with a cookie session, or we can see cross-site scripting context. Over here we have some many more over there. So let's have a look. Let's try with this one first. Let's try with this cookie stealing part. So cookie stealing part is one of the most important part over here. So stealing cookie is a traditional way to exploit cross-site scripting. Most web application uses cookie for session handling. You can exploit cross-site scripting vulnerability to send the victim cookies to your own domain, or then mainly inject the cookie into your browser and impersonate the victim. So cookie impersonation. Cookie impersonation is a attack where an attacker simply steal the cookies from a different user and simply use those cookies parameter to simply log into that behalf of that victim. So over here you can see you can exploit cross-site scripting vulnerability to send the victim cookies to your own browser, then manually inject the corresponding. So what will happen over here? In this practice, the victim might be not be logged in. Many applications hide their cookies from JavaScript using the HTTP flag. Session might be logged to additional factors like your user IP address, because each and every session has been added by this public IP address, which is assigned by the IPS. This session might be timeout before you're able to hijack. Timeout mount including connection left. So let's try to steal some cookies over here. Okay, let's try this one. So they have given exploiting cross-site scripting to steal cookies. So this lab contains stored XSS vulnerability in the block comment section. Okay, it's a stored XSS. So it means the data will be stored on the server side. To solve this lab, exploit the vulnerable, steal the session cookie to someone who view the blog post comment, then use this cookie to impersonate the victim. They have given some notes over here. So the online lab simulates another user who can view blogs comment after they are posted. You should exfiltrate this user session cookie with the help of Burp Collaborator. Burp Collaborator is one of the best things. See over here. Did I find something? So it was, where is the port swagger? Add to scope. Yep. Scope only. Great. Now I can see only the parameter values. So instead of using Burp Collaborator, you should adapt the attack to make the victim post cookie with a blog commenting, exploiting cross-site scripting. CSRF through this would means that cookie will be exposed publicly and also disclose evidence that makes burp. So exploiting the XSS to perform cross-site scripting, cross-site record forgery. Through the XSS, we can get the shesh cookie, but through the XSS, we can perform CSRF, cross-site record forgery. See this one, what will happen. So use Burp Professionals, copy the clipboard to your copy unique Burp Collaborator payload, leave the Burp Collaborator to Windows open, submit the following payload in a block comment, insert the block collaborator subdomain where indicated. So यहाँ पे सबसे ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट पता है क्या दे रखा है? यहाँ पे आपको सिंपली एक डोमेन क्लिक करना पड़ेगा, आपको एक सिंपल जावास्क्रिप्ट पेलोड बनाना पड़ेगा और ये पेलोड आपको वहाँ पे कमेंट आउट में सेव करना पड़ेगा. This script will make anyone who will view the comment post request to burp containing the cookie. And सबसे best चीज़ क्या है कि we're gonna use this one and we're gonna try to access. So over here, the burp collaborator is also used for basically fetching the data from the server side. तो यहाँ पे so over here, I guess where is it? The passive and okay, we have content discovery, schedule tasks, analyze target, find reference, find script, find comment, find search, actively looking. We can try one thing. We can search in the Burp Suite book, the hacker, the cookbook. Hmm. The Burp Collaborator. So Burp Collaborator is one of the best tools to identifying the loopholes on the server side, and it is also used for specifying the vulnerability. So you can see using Burp Collaborator to determine SSRF, you can use it for determining cross-site scripting. You can determine it for cross-site repository attack. So over here you can see SSRF is a vulnerability that allows an attacker to force application to make unauthorized request on the attacker's behalf. To make an unauthorized request in behalf of the attacker. So it will simply attack in his own environment. This request can be simply as DNS queries or as your manipulations or commands that attacker can control server. So you can see in this burp collaborator to check open ports available for SSRF requests, then use Intruder to determine whether the application will perform DNS queries or not. So let's have a look getting ready using the OWASP multi-day, and they are giving the normal thing. See where you have to go to the miscellaneous. You will find you will go to the object, you can go to the project options, you will get to the miscellaneous just like this one, and you will see your burp collaborator. See the burp collaborator server. The burp collaborator is an external IT service that can be used for helpful discover kind of vulnerability. You can use default credentials provider and port swagger to deploy your own instance. We'll read the documentations part. So let's have a look what other things can happen. So use the burp collaborator server. Check what they have given. So switch to the burp project options, miscellaneous, burp collaborator server. You have two options available for using the private burp collaborator server that could be set up, or maybe use publicly internet accessible, or maybe word swagger. So burp swagger. Check the box labeled poll over the encrypted HTTP and run the health check button. A pop-up box will appear to the various protocol to see whether they connect to the public burp collaborator or not. So let's try this one. Run check. So it's basically checking from the web server. So the SMTP response of the capture server was not accepted. Perhaps this is not a collaborator server. So you can see port number 25 was not over there. So there was your server address resolution, your correction. And remember one thing कि मैंने simple यहाँ पे इसको target एक ही target लिया मैंने, ठीक है? So you have to use a burp collaborator to check the health of the web application. Hmm? So when you check the health of, if where you can run this one again, you can see the port number 25 was not over there. Hmm. So what could be the next possibilities? From the top level menu, select the burp collaborator client, and you can see burp collaborator client. Yes. So burp collaborator client क्या करेगा आपका, यहाँ पे एक पेलोड क्रिएट करके देगा आपको, जनरेटर नंबर ऑफ पेलोड, एक नंबर सिंपल पार्ट. तो जैसे कि अगर आप यहाँ पे देखो, a pop-up box will be appear in the section label generate collaborator payloads. Change the 1 to 10. It's all up to you. And click on the copy of the clipboard button and leave all the default as they are. Do not close the collaborator client window. If you close the windows, you will lose the client session. So majorly यहाँ पे करना क्या है आपको, सिंपल ये जो पेलोड आप क्रिएट करोगे, इस पेलोड के थ्रू आपको अपने कोई भी जितने भी आपके पेलोड्स हैं यहाँ पे, ये आपको इंसर्ट करना है यहाँ पे, जो आप पेलोड यहाँ पे क्रिएट करोगे. See this one. Switch to the burp proxy HTTP history tab and find out the request. You just need to create it to DNS lookup. Right click and select to the send to options. Switch the burp intruder position tab. Clear all the suggested payload breakers and highlight the IP address. Click to the add button, जो कि आपके पैरामीटर जिस पे आपको अटैक करना है. And burp suite will switch to the burp intruder payload and tap to the paste and 10 payloads you copied to the burp collaborator functions, and आपको यहाँ पे अटैक करते रहना जब तक वो आपके कॉल ना हो जाए. जैसे कि मैं यहाँ पे करके दिखाता हूँ, मैं सिंपली यहाँ पे एक ही करूँगा. तो कुछ पेलोड ऐसा बन के आएगा आपको देखना. So we have to paste this payload on the comment section. अगर आपको याद हो कि यहाँ पे इसने बोला था कि कमेंट सेक्शन में जाके आपको डेटा को फेच करना है. सो लॉगिन करने के लिए बोला था क्या, लॉगिन कंडीशंस थे यहाँ पे. ओके सो ये जो डेटा दिया है ये हमें कहाँ पे पेज करना है. दिस स्क्रिप्ट विल बी एनीवेयर रिव्यू द कमेंट पेज. सो यहाँ पे कमेंट पेज था पिक्चर्स में, व्यू पोस्ट, and we can see a comment page over there. So तो यहाँ पे मैं जो अपना पेलोड क्रिएट करूँगा वो मेरा यहाँ पे होगा, योर सब डोमेन हियर और योर burpcollaborator.net. तो सब डोमेन हमारा burpcollaborator ये है. तो यहाँ पे मैं सिंपल क्या कर रहा हूँ, बर्प कोलैबोरेटर के थ्रू मैं वल्नरेबिलिटीज को आइडेंटिफाई करूंगा कि उसमें कोई क्रॉस साइट स्क्रिप्टिंग वल्नरेबिलिटी है कि नहीं. और ये जो हम कर रहे हैं ये हम सेशन कुकी को स्टील करने के लिए यूज कर रहे हैं. सो देखो फेच, यहाँ पे फेच जो कमांड यूज हुआ है डेटा को फेच करने के लिए यहाँ से, और यहाँ मेथड हमने पोस्ट किया हुआ है, और नो कोर्स बॉडी कुकी पैरामीटर को स्टील करेंगे. सो लेट्स यूज पाथ, email address hacker.co.in, website lucifer@red.com, www दे देते हैं, कोई इशू नहीं है. So let's do paste. Yeah, sorry. Thanks for your comment to be submitted. See. अब मान लो कि ये जो पेलोड मैंने यहाँ पे जो सेट किया था, और अगर ये क्या करेगा हर 60 मिनट्स में, ये देख रहे हो आ गया रिजल्ट, एवरी 60 मिनट्स में ये डेटा को फेच करके देगा हमें. बिकॉज द डेटा हैज बीन सेट ओवर हियर. और हर बार अगर कोई एक न्यू विक्टिम उस स्पेसिफिक सोर्स कोड में जाएगा जहाँ पे मैंने अपना पेलोड डाला हुआ है, जैसे कि ये पार्थमंडल, So it's gonna take some time, or we can see the DNS part has been executed. The collaborator received a DNS lookup type A, domain name this, HTTP request. ये देखो आ गए. So request and response देखते हैं. See, a normal cookie parameter is there. You just has placed a payload on the server side, and उस वो payload आपके बाद में से use हो सकता है, क्योंकि मैंने यहाँ पे देखो simply यहाँ पे मैंने अपना bug collaborator डाला था और उस payload के अंदर मैंने अपना malicious code inject किया था. ये दिखा रहा है कि pull every 60 seconds, 20 seconds, because we don't have that much of time to wait over there. This script will make anyone who view the comment issue and the post request to the bug collaborator.net containing the cookie parameter go back to your bug collaborator and client view and now if you see any of the interaction listed, wait for the few seconds and try it. If you see any HTTP interaction, take a note of the value of the victim cookie in the post body. See, then reload the page. Then reload the main page block using the bug proxy repeater to replace your own cookie with the captured value. देख लो, जो मुझे ये HTTP रिक्वेस्ट मिली है, ये कुकी को मुझे अपने कुकी के साथ चेंज करना है. This cookie parameter can be also be affected over there. So let's try this one. So मैं यहाँ पे क्या करने वाला हूँ, जैसे यहाँ पे इसको स्टॉप कर देते हैं. तो बग शूट कहाँ गया. तो यहाँ पे एक कुकी सेशन हाईजैकिंग हो रहा है क्रॉस साइट स्क्रिप्टिंग के थ्रू. तो यहाँ पे देखते हैं. देख रहे हो. सो यहाँ पे रिपीटर ड्रॉप द पैकेट. यहाँ पे जो एक कुकी पैरामीटर आई है ये मेरे सेशन के लिए, तो मैं इसको क्या करूँगा, मैं अपने पैरामीटर के साथ इसे चेंज कर दूंगा. I will see 200. okay, exploiting process scripting to steal cookies. और वो बग कोलैबोरेटर क्या करेगा, जो भी स्पेसिफिक सर्वर में जो भी स्पेसिफिक यूजर में आया होगा उसी के कुकी पैरामीटर को कॉपी कर देगा. तो it didn't work. Something might be wrong over here. Something. You should go in the verb HTTP, take a note of the value of the victim cookie in the post body, and then you can reload the main blog page using browser repeater to replace your own cookie with the capture value. You can see a hello admin message with the response demonstrating that you have successfully hijacked the admin user. Okay, but do I can see an admin over here? No, we were not able to use any admin. We just use a different cookie parameter, but I didn't have. Because they gave me this session cookie. This was my session cookie over here, so I have to use this one, but this didn't work. The length of the packet is this. No admin was there, but I can see that I got some. The major problem was there were too many request parameters, so I'm going to use this one again once more, and I'm going to visit that page and look for the path hook again, and pull now. Okay, the same response code. There was no difference. Ah, you can see stealing the cookie parameter is important, but I was not able to jump any of the admin user as per the instruction, because if any of the attacker, any of the victim will visit a specific page on the server side which I created a normal payload, it should be giving me a proper data value. So this was a normal cookie parameter which I granted. Instead of this one, let me try one more session. So intercept on request. Yep. So let's see what happened over here if I change the value with my. Nothing happened. Sometimes the port swagger machine is broken or something might be happened over there. Uh, but still, we can see we can place our payload and we can grab the data type which is over here. We got the response code, or this was the normal data. So through the burp collaborator, we can also find many other vulnerabilities on the server side, and there are lots of further things can be happened if you simply steal data or look for the valuable data. Many more things can be happened. So it was simply a cookie stealing attack, how an attacker can steal a cookie. But the major objective of this attack was how an attacker simply placed the payload on the specific website. Comment field, it was stored. The payload has been stored on the server side. Whenever a victim will visit that specific resources over there, it will give us a proper pop-up over here in the backend side. So what else we have over here? Exploiting cross-site scripting to capture passwords. These days many users have password manager that autofill their password. Yes, password manager. If you are using browser has already saved our password in their cache memory. So you can take advantages of this by creating a password input. Password input means it will be a normal JavaScript reading out all the autofill password and sending it to own domain. This technique avoids most of the problems associated with the stealing cookie, and can even gain access to every other account where the victim has been reused the same password. See, we don't have to use the same password in every structure in the query. Each and every part should be changed one by one. So if you see, the primary disadvantage of this technique is that only works on the user who has a password manager. See, who has only the password manager. It will work on that only. That performs password autofill. Of course, if the user doesn't have a password saved on your, you can still attempt to obtain their password through one-side phishing attack. Let's try what will happen. So this is also your stored XSS. This contains a lab over here, but I guess this is also going to use the burp collaborator. Yes, same thing will happen over there. uh, you can see I've given using the burp professional click copy of the clipboard of the unique burp collaborator payload to your clipboard and leave the burp collaborator client windows open. Submit the following payload into a block comment. Insert the block in your burp collaborator subdomain where indicated. So over here we have to use this one. I guess this is the same thing that we have used over here also. Now this was for password. So over here we should know a little bit of Java. So project uh, hmm, okay, no issue, not a big thing. Burp collaborator client, copy the clipboard, and we're gonna paste our payload over here. Hmm? And we're gonna copy the input parameter. See, the most important thing: input username and password from the client side. Type password name on change if this value length fetching the file from this specific one. Post method, data is posting on the server side. So we're gonna do copy. Hmm. You can see over here this script will make anyone who will view the comment in the post request burp collaborator.net containing the username and password. Go back to your burp collaborator client window and click pull. If you can see any interaction listed, wait for the few seconds and try. If you should see an HTTP interaction, take a note of the value of the victim user and password in the post body. You should see the HTTP request, take a note of the username and password in the post body. Use the credential to log in the victim user. So let's access. So over here again we're gonna paste that malicious script on the payload comment part. So we're gonna do XSS. 'Thanks for your comment to be saved. Okay. So what we are gonna do, we have to see over here. We can only see the response code. Let's do pull command. $20 seconds. See the username and the things. Administrator and oh, so is it the password? Administrator. Let's try if we can go. So it was on the post request that was generated. And we have solved this one. See, The major objective of this vulnerability, when a victim will visit on the specific payload and we will get and capture the request. So it's like a normal payload to be executed. All you have to do is to see the response code, the request which is generated, and the response. So I guess we were doing the same thing, and that was not working with this one, cookie stealing part. So our major agenda and the major possibility that we're gonna do over here is to simply check one by one. So there are many further things can happen. See, exploiting cross-site scripting to perform CSRF. So CSRF, we are not going to do this. This one is right now because this will be a totally different topic. So this was a stored XSS which will be stored on the server side, that is persistent over here. So if you see over here, this was all stored over here, and there was cross-site scripting content type also. So can you see the content type? Cross-site scripting reflected excessively in HTML context with the most tags and attributes are blocked. Most tags and attributes. मोस्ट टैग एंड एट्रीब्यूट्स की अगर मैं बात करूँ तो यहाँ पे बात हो रही है आपके ये क्या बोलते हैं, इन चीज़ों की बात हो रही है. Sometimes they block script tag, sometimes they block the first data like this one. So you have to simply encode this part. So अगर आप यहाँ पे देखो, reflected cross-site scripting in HTML context with the most tags and attributes are blocked. This lab contains reflected cross-site scripting, vulnerability in search functionality that uses a web application firewall, which is your WAF, to protect against common XSS vector. Common XSS vector is your vulnerabilities of your cross-site scripting. To solve this lab, perform a cross-site scripting attack when bypass the WAF and alert the document.cookie parameter. See, your solution must be not require any user interaction, must triggering an alert function. यहाँ पे user interaction की जरूरत नहीं है, आपको simply यहाँ पे single execution pop up करना है. और यहाँ पे अगर आप देखो, यहाँ पे बहुत सारी चीजें देखिए. Inject a standard XSS payload such as your image source on error alert function. Observe this is a payload get blocked. Use burp intuitive to test which tags and attributes are being blocked. So यहाँ पे आपको simple एक पूरा पैरामीटर के साथ चीट शीट बनानी पड़ेगी. जैसे यहाँ देखो क्रॉस-साइट स्क्रिप्टिंग में चीट शीट दे रखी है आपको. These cheat sheet can help you, and these are the browsers which can be manipulated or executed. There would be some little bit of information gathering, that could be help us in the further stages. So our major goal over here is to simply manipulate and simply extract all the things one by one and many more things.